Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for the market recap. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the charts, of course, but before then, we're going to look at the news that's coming tomorrow morning. And we're going to be looking at the crypto news that's been dropping just about an hour ago. So, starting with the upcoming news in the morning tomorrow, we're going to be seeing the U.S. initial jobless claims numbers here. Okay, so the forecast right now is at 220,000. Previously, we had 217,000 reported. So it's being forecasted that we're actually going to get more jobless claims, which honestly would be pretty bad because we're going into the holiday season. And in that season, normally you would expect there to be less jobless claims because there'd be more seasonal jobs. But the forecast right now is indicating that we're probably going to get more jobless claims, which is not a good sign for the economy. In my personal opinion, I actually have a feeling that we will see a beat here. I do think we're going to either get to 217,000 jobless claims or potentially even lower. So, I'm leaning more towards there being more jobs, more jobs and less jobless claims this month around. But again, we'll wait and see. And then we have the CPI year over year and CPI month over month numbers coming. And those I do expect to be fairly negative. I think they're going to be a continuation of lower numbers. I think slightly they're either going to hit forecasts or just be slightly below expectations. So, you know, tomorrow's probably going to be a fairly volatile day that will probably lean more towards the downside. And we'll get into why I'm seeing more downside coming for the rest of this week and potentially Monday, Tuesday next week. And it has to do a lot with the dollar. So that's the news that's coming in the morning tomorrow. Once that gets announced in the next market recap, we'll go over exactly what happened here. Now let's take a quick look at the crypto news that dropped. So looking at the crypto news, pretty much this right here is the gist of it. Thank you to Igars, who's in our Discord. He's great. He likes to keep us up to date with a bunch of news. It's great to have someone like that here. So he posted pretty much a Binance tweet, and you can click on this link here if you're in the Discord to read the actual thread. But essentially, Binance has decided to not buy FTX, which is not unexpected. I believe in a recap or two recaps ago, potentially the last recap, I did mention that I'm very skeptical that Binance will actually buy them. And one of the reasons are FTX's numbers are probably horrible, and Binance probably sucks too. So, guys, just to keep things in perspective, don't think Binance is in a great place. They may be, okay, but the safer bet is to assume that they're just as bad looking as FTX in their books because this business that they're in is actually not that profitable. It's not as profitable as you think it is. The margins are far, far closer than you think. And Binance is small compared to, let's just put it in perspective, like a Fidelity, where their margins are going to be small, but they have a customer base that's much larger, and their assets, their products are far more valuable, and they garner more profit. So just be very careful with these exchanges. FTX being the third largest exchange in the world, collapsing and not even having anything valuable enough for Binance to buy, and that honestly may also be a stain on Binance that they may not be able to do it. FTX may have a good business that Binance can't afford to buy. So be very careful with Binance. What I always say to everyone is if you're in the futures game, the crypto game, and you're buying and selling on these exchanges, when you make a profit, I always recommend pull your profits out, man. Pull them out. If you need to add on to anything, you can always add on via just sending crypto. It's that convenient. You don't need to keep your money pooled there. Just pull out your profits, enjoy it. Don't be where you would be if you were on FTX, where you don't know if you can pull your money out and you're potentially going to lose it all. So just take that extra step. Take the extra step, and it's a good habit to get into, especially if you want to be, a professional trader. You want to do it for a living. You have to get into the habit of paying yourself. So this is a great lesson to make sure to continuously take out profits when it's correct to do so. All right, so now let's get into the charts. So here's one of the reasons why we're seeing some selling in the stock market. Obviously in crypto, they were selling before the dollar was showing some bids, some positivity, but this also attributes to that. So Dollar got down to the lower side of this bullish structure as expected, and like I've said in the last recap, look for a bounce coming into the dollar. So we have a fair value gap here, that's a bearish fair value gap right here, that's probably going to get filled by price. So essentially this is the pathway we're looking at, and this is the pathway I said is most likely to happen. Get a bounce, come on up towards this resistance zone, find the liquidity, fill it, and then potentially then come lower. However, because this is overall a bullish structure, okay, if this validates as a bullish structure and we start breaking the top side here, then we're looking at a move towards 120 for the dollar. But that's not the most likely path right now. The most likely path right now is what I have painted right here. We'll find some resistance as we get towards the top zone here and fill out the fair value gap right here, and then come back lower, and then eventually tap 108. Once we're tapping these lower levels here, though, be very careful. If we do start getting some strength in the dollar, then we're going to be in a very mature pattern. It'll be a very mature structure, and the bias is still to the upside until proven otherwise. And if you're in a mature structure that has a bias to a direction, you have to respect that bias. So if we see some strength as we're coming down towards this zone, coming up towards the top, be careful for the breakout. It will become more probable. All right, so next let's take a look at the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P. So starting with the Dow, filled the fair value gap. Looking at the S&P first. Let's start with the Dow. So looking at the Dow, we had that breakout, came back to this descending trend line. Now we're going to see, can we hold this general zone of support, or are we going to break back down and start filling out these fair value gaps down here and potentially, attempt to make a higher low at these levels? Or is this it? Was this the run in the bear market and now we're going to see lower lows in the year? It's possible. It's possible, okay? We're not clear of this descending trend line. We still haven't taken out this previous swing high up here. So, we're not out of the woods of just seeing lower lows. But the probabilities are on our side because we took out this high pivot here, that we will likely see a higher low form, whether that's right here at this trend line or that's coming lower towards these fair value gaps and taking liquidity that's pulled under this small pivot down here. Okay, so we have to just be patient, let this play out, and if the dollar's going to catch some bids going into the end of the week and potentially early next week, this makes sense for the Dow to start streaming down towards these fair value gaps and filling that out. All right, next is S&P. Same story. Actually filled out this bearish fair value gap for the most part and is now having a continuation lower. And same thing with the Dow. We want to see, as it comes to these, small little low pivots down here, is it going to be able to make higher lows from these levels? So it's okay if it comes down, takes this out, and then makes a higher low. And same here, comes down, breaks under this pivot right here, and makes a higher low right here. As long as it holds this low wick, it's still considered a higher low, no matter where it forms in this general zone. All right, so if it does come back to 3,600, which I've said over and over, 3,600 for the S&P, it's like a magnet. It's a very powerful level for the S&P. Do not be surprised if we see the price get back down there. We may be making our way down there, and it should hold for a time. If we have prolonged bearish behavior in the Dow and then the dollar starts breaking bullish, especially from that bullish structure, then we'll probably see the S&P break under 3,600 and eventually take out this low wick and make it towards the high pivot here at 33.94, which is the level right before the COVID lockdown drop. All right, so next is the NASDAQ. Let's take a quick look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ coming up to this minor resistance and failing off of it and slowly making its way. And I've been saying, watch for the NASDAQ to potentially make a double bottom structure with this wick or even pierce under it, because the NASDAQ is far more volatile. Its percentage moves will always be multiplied compared to the Dow and S&P. So whenever you see the Dow and S&P potentially make a higher low, that does not always mean the NASDAQ will. A lot of times what I've seen is the NASDAQ will make a double bottom or even like a wick lower than that previous low and then go up. So you have to be kind of careful with the NASDAQ, but overall the structure is still fairly bullish in the sense that we're in this downward channel, and we're trying to get the fuel to get back towards the top side of this downward channel and break through. But it's going to be dependent on the Dow and the S&P, which are then dependent on how powerful or weak the dollar will be. Overall, we're looking right now in the short term for a retracement back towards this low wick down here, and then we'll see, will that low wick hold? Most likely it won't, and we'll just start fighting at the median line again, sort of like we did right over here. Okay? All right, now let's hop over to the oil chart here. So oil finding found the resistance here, made pretty much a double top formation, and it looks like it's coming into the support level of 85, 84, 48, 85, that general zone, and it's right now following the low path, right, making the move down lower and going down towards 75 to potentially $70. So it's following the general one of the two paths. Okay, I think it's very unlikely we go into a range here. All right, so I think it's going to be a trending move up or down. In my opinion, right now I'm leaning towards downside, but I'm fairly indecisive about this. Okay, it did come up high enough to where it could grab some liquidity, but I do see it coming down to 75 and then potentially even lower towards 60. But I do see a move down being more likely right now, but it's close. It's close. I'm not. This chart, this asset. If you go back in my recaps, you'll hear me flip flopping a lot because this one is very close. There's not really a huge bias in one direction in the short term. In the long term, though, I've said repeatedly, I believe oil to be pretty bullish in the long term, especially when you look at the weekly and especially the monthly chart. This larger descending structure is a much more bullish structure on the monthly. So, I am going to hold steady and saying I'm bullish oil, but in the short term, we may be seeing some bearish activity here. Going into gold and silver. Gold had a beautiful breakout of the trend line, and it's due for that retracement back down, where we're likely going to see a bullish consolidation rather than a full retrace, but it's potentially in the cards, and we're going to be making imbalances and fair value gaps as we go higher. So watch for that to start forming, and depending on how this daily candle closes, which is about almost 5 minutes. So we have a fair value gap that's about to form right here, a bullish one. So right here, this high here to the low here, this high candle, and there's a bullish fair value gap. Now it doesn't mean this is going to immediately get filled, or it may immediately get filled and just get completely taken out in the next daily candle, or we're going to have that continuation higher and it's just going to reside here for a while. But it's good to keep track of how these fair value gaps are forming. We have one lower down here as well, right here to here. All right, so as gold potentially keeps going up and starts taking out the liquidities above this high pivot here, and potentially even all the way back up towards 1800, that's my general area. That's the area I see gold getting to before a major retracement. But we are due for a potential consolidation, and a bullish one at that. And it would make sense if we're trying to make that move towards 1800 to get a bullish consolidation before we start challenging this high pivot, because the consolidations are an attempt by the bulls to get enough fuel to then be able to have a bigger move to break past the liquidity that's residing there. Okay, so do not be surprised if we do start seeing a bullish consolidation of some sort as well. All right, next is silver. So looking at silver, I ended up closing our positions on silver and also the gold mining positions, the GDX positions in our swing trade service, and potentially because pretty much because I said potentially, I meant pretty much because I recognize silver to be in a microphone structure. You have the high trend line here, the low trend line here, and those two assets, the GDX chart and the SLV chart, were pretty much the exact same structure. So we took our profits at the top line of the microphone structure, and here's exactly why. You're seeing silver kind of battling at that level. Now, it doesn't mean that silver won't break out, but we have to respect it, because if it is a microphone structure and it continues to hold and validate, then the next step is eventually a break all the way down towards the bottom side. And for silver, that's all the way down towards 14, 15, 16 bucks. All right, now it doesn't mean it's going to do that. It could come back down towards this ascending trend line, especially if gold's going to stay really bullish, right? If gold's going into that bullish consolidation and silver continues to follow, then what you'll see during the gold consolidation, probably silver come down, fill this fair value gap, potentially even tap this ascending trend line, and then continue higher. All right. If gold's going to have a full-on retracement or a failure, then we'll be looking for this trend line to break and then look at those lower levels where the bottom side of the microphone structure is formed. All right. And last but not least, let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. So I've been adding on to Bitcoin positions. So hopefully you are in the Discord. You're in the service. As you can see, Bitcoin's just pretty much collapsing as we speak, mainly due to a lot of things regarding FTX and Binance. FTX is liquidating a lot of positions, so a lot of crypto is just selling right on off. I've been adding on to a bunch of altcoin positions and to Bitcoin as well, and this is why, in my opinion, the best way to come at these markets is to go in dollar cost averaging into trade positions. Don't do that just for investments. I think you should do it for your trade positions as well. So that's why, though we are going down, and though yes, we have a bunch of longs, we can participate when the markets do this going against us. We can then participate and make our positions better because we have the powder on the sideline to add on to these positions. So now Bitcoin's breaking under the pretty much the what is it, 6 months, so almost like, this major structure that's been building for months, completely breaking down. The accumulation here unfortunately turned into distribution, and now we're going to see Bitcoin probably make its way down to 14 and potentially even start wicking into 12K. All right, so this is a huge failure for Bitcoin. If we were looking for upside, I personally was looking for upside. I saw signs of potentially upside, but I was wrong, and it's going to happen. And that's why the only way I can protect myself from being wrong, and the only way you can protect yourself from me when I'm wrong, is to follow my risk management strategy, which essentially is going into position small and then building from there. So we didn't hold the breakout zone here. So we did break out from these high pivots, but we couldn't hold it. We're now continuing down. Whether it's just because of what happened with FTX or not, the point is it happened. So now we have to look for lower levels. I did add on today at 16K, so it brought down our average under 20. And now I'm looking, my next zone that I'm looking for is anywhere from 14 to 12,000. I just want to watch the price action as it gets there. And then we'll likely start seeing consolidations form around the 14, 12,000 zone, potentially even some taps of 10K. It will take some time before 10K is broken, in my opinion. But as we get to those lower zones, look for another consolidation. Now, how long will those consolidations last? Will it be like this? It can be. It can be, especially if we're going through capitulation. In my opinion, this isn't where capitulation will happen. It will probably happen lower. But if we do have a consolidation here, then we want to look for any signs that we're going to have a reversal structure. Okay, we have to be in this for the long haul. Okay, unfortunately, we're not there yet to where we're going to have a nice bear market rally. That's not where we're at. Now we're just in for a continuation of the downtrend, and we just have to be as wise as we can and add on at the best places possible. So we have to be very patient, keep a clear head, see this as an opportunity like I am. I'm seeing this as a great opportunity, not just for Bitcoin, but for a bunch of altcoins. And as we come into key levels, strategic levels that will have a lot of liquidity, we may be able to really catch some really nice deals and be rewarded for it in the coming days, weeks, and months. All right, everyone. That's it for the market recap. Be on the lookout for the crypto recap because we're going to go into a lot more detail with the market. So I'm sure you're going to want to hear that. And then, of course, the stock market recap as well. I actually failed to get out the stock market recap yesterday. My apologies on that. Life got in the way, but you'll be getting that shortly as well. All right, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe. Give me some feedback. Give me some comments. Ask me questions in the Discord if you have any. And again, if you are enjoying the free swing trade service I'm holding for this month, make sure to let me know if you have any sort of criticisms or any advice to make it better. Please let me know because I would love to make it better. And I think that will be valuable not just for me, but for anyone who's already part of the swing trade service and anyone who may want to join it in the future. All right, everyone, remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. I love you guys. Take care. Bye.